Hello everyone. In this video I will talk about state management in React. Before that we'll understand what is state in React. If you see this city page where we are displaying departments using this department card. So this is a component we created in the last video. Same component is used here. In this component if you see we have department name and its description. So this card has cardiology, this card has neurology. So this information of a component which is displayed or which makes it different from the other component, like it's the same component with different data. So that different data or different properties of that card is the state of that card, is the state of that component. So state of this component is cardiology and this description, and for this it's neurology and this description. So there are two states. One is the title and one is the description. So there are some states which are visible, like these two things. There are some things which are not visible, which are internal to that component, which we use for some other uh, features. Suppose if we make this card red in color, if cardiology, then make the background color as red. If neurology, then make the color as green. So that background color is also the state. So anything, any property, any feature of a component which defines it, which makes it different from the other, is called the state. State means what that component possesses at that moment, which can change later maybe. So that is why it's called state. It could change based on various factors. Suppose in the back end somebody changes this description and we refresh this page, this description changes, right? That means state of the component is changed. If initially the background of this color is red, if cardiology, then background is red. But if we change the logic that if cardiology, then make it green. So state is changed. If you refresh that page, it will become green. State is changed. That why these features of a component is called state, because it is existing at that moment. It can change later. And initially it could have been blank, right? And when we loaded this page, this initial state is loaded. So if you go to that code, this is the component. You see there are two properties, display and description. So these are the component. Oh, sorry, these are the state of these of this component. And also if you see href, which is not visible here but is present and used when we click on this. So that is also a state of this component. This href, the link, this is also different for different components. If you click here, it will open cardiology. If you click here, it will open neurology. So these are the states of a component. Any component is actually a component, differs from other based on the state of that component. If every property has same value, if display is hard coded as cardiology, then every card will have same state. It will have state, that property will have some value, so it will have state but hard coded. So this state, when loaded first, when this card is loaded, this display is blank initially. When this card is loaded, this data comes and it is loaded, the state is loaded. And later if background in the So this data is coming from suppose backend. Okay. So if you refresh the page, somebody changes the data, somebody changes the description in the server, and we refresh the page, then state changes, right? So there are different ways a state change in React. One is from the backend, from outside of this component, and one is from inside this component. Okay, if you see this display, description, and this link, these are coming from the properties, from the parameters. So these are coming from outside. We don't have display property inside this, right? It's coming from outside where we are using the component. If we want to change the description, we don't have value here. We have to go back to the original source here. So if we change the description here, and when we save it, the state changes. So from here, this department value is updated and is sent to this parameter, and this value is updated. So this state is updated from outside of this component. This component itself doesn't have control over it. An other way to change the state is from inside this. But to change the state from inside of this component, that state must exist inside this component. This display, this description is coming from outside. It's not part of this component. So to understand how a state can change, or to demo a state change from inside the component, we need to create a state inside it. So let's create a property to display whether this department is favorite or not. So let's create constant is favorite, make it true, and here if is favorite is true, okay, then display red, or display, otherwise display gray heart. So use a span with color red, and here span with color gray, and use this emoji. Let's see. So now we are able to display the heart icon because of this property. If we make this false, right, so this is the state, local state, inside state of this component, which was true earlier. Now we are changing it to false. So when we change it to false, this will be updated. So this become false, so it will display gray heart, right? Now this state, which when we change from here, updated here, is a static state change. We are changing in the code, saving it, and then this gets updated. But what if we want to change it without any code change? When it's running in the production, we don't change the code. We want some option here. Suppose a button, click on this, and then it's changed. Initially it's gray, not favorite. When we click here, it will change. So we want to change this from this component, from the page, dynamically. So that time this field won't work. Let's add a button and add on click and create a function here and call this and change this. Because it's constant, we cannot change this value. So let's first make it let or variable, then we'll be able to change it. So initially it is true. When we click on this button, we are making it not fair, means if it is true it will be false. So when it is false, we should see gray. Let's make it false first. So it's not favorite. When we click, this will become true, then we should see red heart. Let's see. Okay, so in this case we have to use a condition here. Okay, so now we are able to see this button which has make fav as text, and when we click on this it will change this value, and then we should see this as red. Let's do that. But it's not happening. Let's see if this is changed or not. It is true, but it's still gray. So the problem is this normal let variable or constant variable, when changed, does not change the value here. It does not propagate the change. When initially it has some value, it is used here. When we change here and save it, the page refreshes and then this gets updated. The static state management, static state change. But dynamic change, when we are not refreshing this page and we want to change the value here, we need a different kind of property. This normal let property, when changed here, does not update this value here. So it does not get propagated. So for that, we need a specialized field which is called hooks. So we need a specialized field in React called as use state hook. So what is the syntax? We do that constant curly square bracket is favorite, and then we need a setter. Set is favorite equal to use state, and initially as we have made it false, we'll make it false and use this. So just remove this. Okay, and instead of directly updating it, we'll use this function. Okay, and it says cannot find this, so we have to import. import use state from React. So this use state is a hook. So in a future video I'll explain what are hooks, but for now understand we need this use state hook to manage dynamic states, and the syntax is constant, and just instead of just this property we need a setter function also. So is favorite and setter equal to use state and the initial value. So this makes this value propagatable here. So now when we change this, it gets updated. See, okay, now when we make favorite, it becomes red. So this is dynamic state change. It is handled through the use state hook. This is called use state hook. In future video I will explain what is hook and what are different types of hook available in React, and also how to make custom hooks. So this use state is one type of hook available in React. So remember this syntax. If we want to change a property or a state which is available inside this component, then we use state hook. Remember this is a very common interview question also. Use state is used to manage a state inside a component. The syntax is constant in square bracket, property name, setter of that property, use state in bracket, default value, and then this setter is used to change the value. If we make it true, so initially it will be red, and when we click on this it will become unfavorite. Same way you can add more properties here, suppose rating and all. Suppose rating is initially empty, and when you click on that 4, 5, 3 or whatever, then based on that you set the value here and it will become that much. Okay, so that's it for state management. There are different ways to manage a state: dynamic, static, from inside the component, from outside the component.